Welcome, fledgling. Consider me your guide today. A bit of a cynical mentor, perhaps, as we strip away the cozy illusions of the modern boardroom. Today, we're stepping far out of the glaring light of everyday assumptions and plunging straight into the dark fantasy of the obsidian mirror. We are going to decode the ultimate survival manual for the modern court and learn how real power operates when absolutely no one is looking. Okay, let's dive right into this dark grimoire with a chillingly simple truth about human perception. To be perpetually seen is to be perpetually cheapened. I mean, think about that for a second. In an era where everyone is constantly shouting for attention, just desperately throwing themselves into the spotlight, this idea strikes like a dagger. True authority, as it turns out, is built almost entirely on the foundation of absence. Now, to understand this, we have to completely redefine our nocturnal predator. Forget the literal mythical monster with fangs hiding out in a crypt. We are defining the core vampire archetype as a vessel of pure utility. This is a strategist who operates through totally nonviolent conquest, profound emotional detachment, and radical self-erasure. And honestly, if you look closely at historical power figures, the legendary spy masters, the gray eminences of ancient courts, you'll see they embodied this exact archetype flawlessly. So, here is the curriculum for your initiation in this explainer. 1. Welcome to the Shadows. 2. The Aristocrat's Silent Tomb. 3. Seduction of the Iron Mask. 4. Lord of Obsidian Strings. And 5. A Curse or Cold Reality. Act 1. The Aristocrat's Silent Tomb. This is all about mastering strategic absence. Let's step into the velvet and soil coffin to really understand the mechanics of making your absence felt. Look, you must never be too accessible. If you are perpetually seen, you basically invite the friction of resistance. People get used to you, they spot your flaws. But with strategic absence, you essentially become a terrifying, weightless myth. You let the frantic architects of your peers' imaginations build a monument of divinity around your empty seat. This scarcity-driven deification ensures that people actually fear and revere what they cannot see. This is the absolute core of the law of the empty chair. By becoming a void wrapped in silk, your sheer silence carries far more weight than the thundering of kings. You vanish from the mortal eye. You let men speak your name in these hushed, jagged tones. You are actively engineering a scarcity that transforms your predatory nature into a dark divinity. So by the time you actually do emerge, your return isn't met with resistance, it's met with absolute submission because they've already surrendered to the myth of you in their own minds. Moving into Act 2, Seduction of the Iron Mask, or the Vampire's Invitation. You might be really tempted to show your ambition, but here is why that's a terrible idea. Displaying raw hunger is just a target for the hunter's stake. It's a clumsy vulnerability. It literally exposes your true heart to an assassin's blade. To survive the lethal court, you cannot be a predator out in the open. You have to bury your true intentions beneath the iron mask of the courtier. Instead, you engineer the vampire's invitation. This is a brilliant, step-by-step, nonviolent conquest. You don't kick the door down, right? First, you show up as this incredibly charming benefactor. You perfectly mirror their deepest professional desires, molding your public image into their twin soul. The pure genius here is the complete removal of friction. You make them beg to invite you in as their savior, and they unlatch their own defenses entirely on their own, completely unaware you are actually a parasite. Always remember this one, my ambitious student. Power is not found in the strength of the kill, but in the elegance of the perception that precedes it. Bypassing their defenses without spilling a single drop of sweat, that is the absolute hallmark of true dominion. It's exactly how the greatest players of legendary court politics operated. They never forced their will. They just engineered the perception of their prey so perfectly that their will was welcomed. All right, Act 3, Lord of Obsidian Strings. Let's see how you become the necromancer's puppet master. Okay, so this is the art of cognitive inception. This is how you remain perfectly clean while the world basically burns around you. First, T1, you plant the seed. You whisper the strategy so your proxy actually believes this dangerous path to glory was their own brilliant idea. Then, in T2, your cat's paws execute the grim work while you sit back, completely emotionally detached. If they fail, T3, you enact the blighted sacrifice. You just sever the link. And finally, T4, you offer them up as a sacrifice to instantly purify and restore your own aura of perfection. Because listen, the most enduring lords are those who rule from the shadows cast by another man's sins. By ensuring the steel of the righteous falls only on expendable souls, you become a pristine ghost in your own skin. You never, ever stain your own robes. Let the visible fools take the fall. And now, our final act, a curse or cold reality. We really need to look at the existential cost of pure utility here. So, we have to explore the psychological toll of this, because a mask worn for too long eventually becomes your actual face. On one hand, this feels like a supernatural curse, right? It demands radical self-erasure. It leads to an existential death, where you basically lose the very heart you sought to protect, transforming into a reflection with no soul. But look at the cold human reality side of it. What feels like a mythic loss of one's soul is really just mastering the secret levers of human impulse. It's how you govern the modern boardroom, how you manage the fragile narcissism of your superiors, and how you navigate a world of shadows without getting wet. It maps flawlessly onto corporate behavioral strategy. All these dark fantasy elements, the empty chair, the courtier's mask, the necromancer's puppets, they're just dramatic metaphors for the realities of power dynamics. Harnessing fear and scarcity, withholding information just to engineer anxiety, utilizing proxies to dodge career-ending blowback, and managing those fragile egos above you by acting as a mirror. This is just the reality of the game. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with one final haunting question. To genuinely wield this kind of power, to master the obsidian strings, you basically have to hollow yourself out. You become a vessel of pure utility. So tell me, fledgling, is navigating a world of shadows, keeping your hands perfectly clean, truly worth becoming a reflection with no soul of your own? You might want to think very carefully about that before you step into the mirror.